Hey folks, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of an Android TV box known as the AKASO T95Z Plus. This is the current flagship both for the manufacturer and also the seller, Tablet Express, which is a retailer, and you can find this on Amazon and through their website directly. We also saw this at CES 2017, and this was being advertised on the showroom. It's a pretty interesting Android TV box because it has top-of-the-line specifications and also a fairly eye-catching and modern design, and it supports 4K video playback. There's Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, support for 3D videos as well, and of course it runs on Android and comes with its own remote. So this is what the packaging looks like. On the back you can see some more specifications, including that it has an Octa Core processor produced by MediaTek, and there's 2 GB of DDR3 RAM, 16 GB of built-in flash storage expandable via an SD card or a thumb drive. So you can see there are 2 USB 2.0 ports, and there's also an Ethernet port on board. So a pretty fully featured and easy to set up Android TV box that you can also use to stream video content, browse the web, and play back some light video games, and transforms your regular television into a smart TV essentially. There's a quick start guide in here in addition to a AC charging brick, which is a pretty standard 5-volt 2-amp charger. And there's also the remote. We'll take a closer look at that in a second. There's also a bundled full HDMI cable that you can use to connect the TV box onto your television set. It can also connect wirelessly if your TV already has Wi-Fi or Miracast enabled, and there's a full user manual documented below as well. So taking a look at the remote first, it's a pretty typical layout. With that being said, there is a slightly revamped 5-way navigation pad that makes menu navigation a little bit easier. And below here, there's a T9 style D-pad that allows you to text and also enter any numbers in addition to letters if you're searching things. Obviously, if you're going to be doing a lot of typing or word entry, I would recommend connecting it to a Bluetooth keyboard or a USB keyboard if you want to transform this into a PC or a computer, essentially. There's also adjustments for media control, such as volume, input sources, and power on-off, and it uses a simple infrared connection, so it has to be in a direct line of sight with the TV box for it to be operated. The back takes 2 AAA batteries, which are not included, but it should last you for about a year and a half before you need to replace it again. Taking a quick look at the design of the Android TV box itself, it has this really interesting honeycomb pattern going on the front and also on the sides, and the very front here also features an LCD display, which is something we don't tend to see a lot of on these Android TV boxes. It gives you a bit more of utility if you're just very quickly glancing and seeing its power status and also what it's doing. And on the back you have access to the ports, including the USB 2.0 port, micro USB port, full-size HDMI, power, AV for RGB if you don't want to use HDMI, an Ethernet port, optical port for connecting into a more high-fidelity audio setup, and there's also another USB port. So again, you can read thumb drives and any hard drives that you might have, since it's basically running on a version of Android. The back also features 4 rubber feet and ventilation grills to prevent it from sliding around on a surface or a desk. So as far as the design is concerned, it is a fairly attractive looking and again modern looking TV box. Next, we're going to boot it up and show you guys the UI experience and how it functions from day to day. Here's what the interface looks like. It's in this grid layout, which is pretty typical for Android TV boxes because you really are only given this remote to navigate things, and with the arrow keys it's a lot easier to move through these giant icons than to go through smaller pages of widgets, for instance. So we have access to our most commonly used applications, which you can also customize through the settings, and includes a direct access to Kodi Media Center, which is this pretty neat UI skin that you can also download by yourself that gives you direct access to things like photos, videos, pictures, and streaming services, some which are pre-installed so that you can easily watch videos. So for instance, here I have YouTube here that's directly installed. Same thing with filmon.tv, Ice Films, EXO, One Channel. So some of these services will give you some free movies and television shows to watch if you want to. And over here I have pictures as well if I have it loaded on an SD card or in the Android system internally. And there's also music, so I can stream content from Apple iTunes, from radio sources, online radio sources, and programs. So you can see here that the overall experience is pretty swift and easy to use. The remote also gives you a cursor application, so you can tap on this cursor key for a few seconds, and that brings up this virtual cursor, but it's not an air remote, so in order to navigate, you still have to use the arrow keys to go up, down, left, and right. So this might be slightly easier to use if you were, let's say, in the web browser and clicking on smaller links and you want some added precision. Otherwise, you can tap on the same key for a few seconds more to go back to just using this left, right, up, and down standard 4-way navigation toggle. Other things that are built on here include a standard web browser. There's also, again, settings, music, access to clean memory, so that saves you up on memory and RAM if you think that it's getting a little bit sluggish or slow. There's access to the full Google Play Store for downloading more applications and games, a built-in video playing client. There's also another, again, browser tab down below there, access to YouTube, and again, you can customize this. All the way below here, you can see that there are a row of regular Android icons, including home, back, multitasking key, volume controls, and those things can also be accessed if you want to maybe transition back into the regular Android UI by going through the settings. So while we talk about that, we can take a look at the settings. You can see it's also slightly been tweaked for easier use with the remote. You have things like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, adjusting the display settings, applications, storage, and also connecting to other sources, and it's pretty swift and also easy to use. If I tap on About, for instance, we can see that the system is indeed running on Android version 6.0, for instance. You can see that here, and if I can tap on this for a few times, maybe I can bring up the marshmallow icon, and indeed that gives me access to this pretty typical kind of Flappy Bird-esque experience you get with most of these Android products. So I can tap on home again, that takes me back. So again, the overall user interface is easy to use. It's also pretty swift. I didn't really experience any slowdowns. The Kodi interface occasionally gets sluggish. That might be because of the Wi-Fi antenna. I'm too far away from my router at the moment, so maybe that takes a little bit longer to load things fully, but everything else seems to be pretty responsive. Let's go to the browser really quickly to give you guys an idea of what the experience is like. Again, since you're typing in text, I do recommend plugging in a additional keyboard or a mouse for easier text entry purposes. And from here you have the regular Chrome experience. You have tab browsing, you can view complex sites such as the New York Times without any issues. Same thing with YouTube. In the full App Store, you have access again to some additional software that the company has built in. There's a 3D gallery, there's an app installer, there's also Netflix built in, there's a movie player that supports, again, 4K resolution video files. Almost all of your video files will be supported on here. So regardless of the format, if it's MP4, WMA, it will just play back directly. Same thing with music, if you want to play that back. There's also some additional things like quick support, root explorer, so you can root your Android TV box and install other skins perhaps. Film on live TV, again, other services for watching free videos and movies. There's also system updates, Twitter, and also for some reason Skype. Even though there isn't a built-in camera, you can always install by USB a webcam if you want to do video chatting applications or taking images with this TV box. So anyways, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty sleek and responsive UI that works well, and for playing back videos, for some very light gaming, I wouldn't install too many games because the performance package here is comparable to most mid-tier, slightly upper-tier Chinese OEM smartphones you might have with the same MediaTek chipset. So it's good enough definitely for multitasking for most of these video services, but if you're doing too many graphically intensive tasks, it's not going to be the smoothest in the world. But anyways, it works very well here, and for most people's usages, since this is going to be a TV box, it does work quite well. As a final thought, you can also customize the LED ring you see on the borders of this TV box just for fun. It doesn't really do anything, but again, you can add some mood lighting into a darker room. So you just tap on the LED key here, it turns from blue to a lighter shade to green, and so it has a few other settings that you can go through. Anyways, guys, it's been our video first look and quick review of the AKASO T95Z Plus Android TV box here at OS Reviews. Overall, a very solidly performing TV box that you can use to, again, transform your television into a smart TV for streaming media content. It performs swiftly and also has an eye-catching and unique as well as intuitive design. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.